Hello everybody, it is Jess and welcome back or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are all well. I am here today with another book haul. So naturally I've done a bit of book shopping recently and I've acquired some new books, some secondhand books and some new releases that I'm very excited for. I say this all of the time, but you guys know that it is true. You already know. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump straight in to the book haul. So let's start with some books that I got second hand. So I have quite a lot of charity shops in my village. There must be like 4 or 5 now. They just keep popping up everywhere and that is not a bad thing. I highly recommend people buying from charity shops, buying your clothes from charity shops, you know, buying books from charity shops, because not only is it cheap, but you are also helping a good cause. And I went in to my local Loros shop not too long ago and they had an amazing selection of books. Every paperback book was 50p each and I picked up these 2 books for just £1, which is absolutely amazing. So the first book that I'm going to show you is this one here. This is The Passenger. This is by Ulrich Alexander Boschwitz, I think. And this is a publication or a recent publication of a book that this guy wrote back in the 40s, I think, late 30s, early 40s. I know that he was killed not long after this book was published. I think he was on a boat and the boat was sunk. I actually need to look that up, bear with me. Yeah, so he was actually on a ship coming back from Australia to England during World War II, and the ship that he was on was torpedoed in the Atlantic by a German submarine and it sank, and he was only 27 years old when he died, which is the age that I'm at now, and that is just incredibly young. But he wrote some books before he died and I don't think this one was actually published until after he died. I know this particular release came out not a couple of months ago. It came out sometime last year, I think. Yes, it was first published in 2021 and I'm really interested in this. It's set in Berlin in November 1938. We've got synagogues that are being burnt to the ground and Jews are rounded up and their businesses are destroyed. And then we're following this person called Otto Silbermann, who has managed to evade the escalating violence of the Nazi regime until now. And with stormtroopers battering on his door, he flees his apartment and begins a desperate race to escape his homeland that is no longer home. I'm not a huge fan of World War II fiction, but I'm really intrigued by this cover and I've heard incredible things about it. The next book that I picked up from that same charity shop is The Castaways. This is by Lucy Clark. So this book I've been aware of for some time. I actually bought this book for my boyfriend's brother for Christmas last year because it was a book that he wanted to read, and so naturally it's been on my TBR ever since, because generally the books that he reads are also books that I know I will like as well. So this is kind of reminds me of Lost, you know. There's a remote island, it's got sparkling blue seas, golden sunsets. There is a wreck of a plane and there is a stranger pacing near the plane. There's another stranger who is sharpening a knife, scoring a list of the dead onto a palm tree, and others watch from the shadows of a campfire, all with untold stories and closely guarded secrets. This is no ordinary holiday, this is no ordinary island, and this is no ordinary beach read. So it doesn't really give away much more than that, but I'm guessing it's kind of like a group of people who've been shipwrecked, plane wrecked on an island. They have to survive. I don't know, but this is another one that I've heard really good things about, and I wish I'd had it earlier, you know, so I could have read it in the summer, but you know, I've got it for next year. So the next stack of books are all books that I bought brand new. So if you remember, when I put up my new bookshelf not too long ago, I wanted to buy some more books to fill it with. I didn't actually film that, but I did buy some more books. I went into Tesco's after I'd been to the dentist that day, and I came home with 4 brand new books. All of the books that I have are books that are on my TBR. So the first one we've got is this gorgeous book here. This is Still Life by Sarah Winman. Everyone has been obsessed with this book, and I have massive FOMO. I just need to know what it's all about, why people are so hyped about it. This is another book that is set in World War II. It's in 1944 in Italy. I've never been to Italy, but I am obsessed with that country. I want to go so bad. And there are 2 strangers who are meeting in the ruined wine cellar of a Tuscan village, and they share an extraordinary evening. So we've got Ulysses Temper, who is a young British soldier, and we've got Evelyn Skinner, who is a 64-year-old art historian living life on her own terms. And she has come to salvage paintings from the wreckage of war and relive memories of her youth when her heart was stolen by an Italian maid in a particular room with a view. Ulysses' chance encounter with Evelyn will transform his life and all those who love him back home in London forever. Big-hearted, sweeping, and full of unforgettable characters, Still Life is a novel about beauty, love, the families we forge, and the friendships that make us. I don't know, but it just sounds really wholesome, and, you know, the parrot on the cover is just, it's just really doing things for me. Next, I picked up The Push. This is by Ashley Audrain. This has actually been out for quite a few years now, but this is the paperback version. And again, I've heard incredible things about it. A psychological thriller that just sounds right up my street. Yep, so we've got Blythe and Violet, mother and daughter. It's a bond like no other. But what if your little angel is really a monster? And why can no one see it but you? I've heard that it's got like graphic depictions of childbirth in here, which, as someone who doesn't ever want to have children, I'm not sure how I feel about reading stuff like that. But you know, I'm intrigued. And I picked up a book that I have kind of heard of and I've put on my TBR just because I'm very intrigued by the cover, but I never really knew too much of what it was about until I did buy it. And that is Pretending by Holly Bourne. So this is another thriller, I think. April hates men. How entitled and arrogant and cruel they are. She particularly hates being rejected by them after she's gone to so much effort to put herself out there. Alright, so it sounds like the female incel, like the incel version of, the female version of incel, whatever that is, don't know if it has a name. So when April meets Joshua, she vows that this time things are going to be different, because this time April is pretending to be Gretel, the perfect woman, the kind that any man would fall in love with. Gretel is going to lure Joshua in, and then she's going to make him regret it. But are all men really the problem? Is being Gretel really the answer? And how long can April keep pretending to be someone she's not? I'm very intrigued, and I love reading about messed up characters with not so good intentions, characters with questionable morals, and characters who think they're doing the right thing when really they're not. Also, I think that book is going to have a lot of interesting things to say about relationships and the treatment of women, or the treatment of men by women. I don't really know what it's aiming for, but I'm going to find out. From that same shopping trip, I picked up Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. Again, another book that everyone has been talking about, and I want to read it. I want to know why. I think this kind of like discusses mental health and things like that. We're following Martha Frail, and everyone tells her she is clever and beautiful, a brilliant writer who has been loved every day of her adult life by one man, her husband Patrick. So why is everything broken? Maybe Martha is just someone who finds it harder to be alive than most people, or maybe, as she has long believed, there is something wrong with her. So yeah, I think I'm going to really resonate with this one as someone who does struggle with mental health and imposter syndrome sometimes. I think that I'm going to be able to connect to a lot of things in this book. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And then the last two books were books that I picked up a couple of days ago from Waterstones, of course. We have got this gorgeous edition of Convenience Store Woman. This is by Sayaka Murata. This is a book that has been everywhere, and every time I see it, it has a different colour. They've got a green version, a blue version. I picked up this lovely pastel purple edition. But I'm really intrigued by this just because I love Japanese authors at the moment. I think they are absolutely fabulous. And just the premise of this sounds really interesting. We're following Kiko. She's 36 years old, she's never had a boyfriend, and she's been working in the same convenience store for 18 years. Her parents wish she'd get a better job, her friends wonder why she won't get married, but Kiko knows what makes her happy, and she's not going to let anyone take her away from her convenience store. And yeah, I just think it's going to be hilarious. I've heard people say that it's quite funny and witty. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be a really interesting piece of feminist fiction. And then lastly, I picked up How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. This is the Waterstones exclusive, and it's got these gorgeous black spreads. I am just in love with this so much. This is a very recent release. It came out not too long ago, and I have been wanting to get my hands on it for quite some time. I've heard that it's quite weird, quite dark, which is everything that I love. And this follows a doctor. He arrives in the Arctic Circle to continue his recently deceased daughter's research, only to discover a virus newly unearthed from melting permafrost. And the plague unleashed reshapes life on Earth for generations, yet even while struggling to counter his destructive force, humanity stubbornly persists in myriad moving and ever inventive ways. And then we're following characters like an aspiring comedian, a scientist, we're following a man who's recovering from a coma. I just think it sounds really interesting. I think it's going to be about how this virus affects these people in very different ways. I think it's going to resonate with me a lot. I think it will resonate with everyone a lot, actually, in terms of what we've all been through over the last nearly 3 years with the pandemic and lockdowns and everything. I think it's going to have a little bit of social commentary on that. So I'm just really interested in this, and hopefully I can get to it by the end of the year because I've heard it's absolutely amazing. This is one of Waterstones' contestants for the debut fiction prize. So yeah, I'm just really excited for it. Alright, so there we go. Those are all of my recently acquired books, and I'm very excited to get to all of them, as I always say. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. Please feel free to let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned in this video and what you thought of them and whether you agree with me or not, because I always love to hear what you guys have to say. You can leave a cheeky thumbs up if you like this video because it does really help with my channel. You can also subscribe and hit the bell button so you will be notified every single time I do upload. And having said all of that, I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye, guys.